Welcome to the You Go First podcast. This is the place where we bring together thought leaders, business pioneers, personal development gurus, and just about any person we discover that will inspire and compel you to go first in all areas of your life. Please welcome keynote speaker, philanthropist, and the official head dream chaser for Odyssey Teams, Inc., our host, Lain Hensley.
You go first.
You go first.
Thank you, Reiner. I will go first. Hello, everyone. My name is Lain Hensley, the host of You Go First, and I am thrilled to continue my CEO series with Reiner Wiederkehr, who is the CEO of Fracht North America. Excited to add another few countries as Central America comes online. And what is Fracht? Fracht is a global shipping and logistics business helping people all over the world get things from point A to point B. They are the ones that actually keep America and the world rolling. And they've been doing it a long time. I think it's a big year this year. They are celebrating 50 years in the US. And 75 years or so, I believe, globally, still family-owned business. But our guest today is the CEO. He took the helm in 2018. I've worked with him many times to do some of his team and leadership development programs. He's a huge advocate of corporate social responsibility, as well as, of course, leading his team to, I believe, they won a huge award this year. USA Today said Workplace of the Year, so congratulations. I know it has a lot to do with your leadership. We're thrilled to have you on the show. So, Reiner, welcome to You Go First, and we're going to dive in with my first question, which is, how's business? How are we doing out there?
Thank you for having me, first of all, Lain. It's great to connect this way. As you said, we know each other for a long time and have done a few wonderful projects together. So I'm looking forward to our 50-year anniversary event where you're going to help us again to make some kids happy. So looking forward to that. Yeah, I think the logistics industry is always interesting. There's always something happening around the globe. And right now we have the Strait of Hormuz situation. Venezuela is in the news. Cuba as well, you name it, right? And I think we as a family-owned business with 160 offices around the world, we're trying to find solutions for our clients. We have global customers, Fortune 100 companies, but we also have smaller private businesses as clients. And what we do well at Fracht is we find solutions. And in times like these, it's not so easy to find a solution. There's a capacity issue right now with what's going on in the Middle East. So some ships are tied up. They're not available in the market, meaning you have less space on the other ships. And then all of a sudden it becomes an issue. Who has the best relationships in the industry and can find space and those solutions. And we love that. We love to provide customer service, and we don't go home at 5 o'clock unless the customer is aware of what we have going on each day. So, it's an interesting time for us, but it's a good time. We had a great start into 2026.
Wow. Well, you just took on a whole bunch of chunks, and I'm sure our listeners out there, or if you're watching the show, you've thought, wow. I mean, imagine you are trying to get something from point A to point B, wherever that is in the world. Who do you turn to? Of course, people turn to Fracht. And it seems like every time we talk, every year, there's a new challenge. You mentioned a number of them with the Strait, with Colombia, with, of course, fuel prices. I can only imagine that has changed a moving target of what that looks like logistically, and then your ability to take care of the longstanding customers, but you have to search for a whole bunch of different alternatives. One of the things that everybody talks about is change. How do I set my teams up for change? We have AI going on, and then, of course, so many globally change. What's the biggest changes that you're up against right now? And is AI even a part of that, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, it is. And we have invested quite a bit of money into AI, technology in general. Cybersecurity is massive. So we have a great team. We actually just announced a global CTO just 10 days ago or so. So it's a big investment for the entire group. But, what solutions truly bring an ROI? That's something we're still trying to figure out. And I think it's similar for our competitors. Some are more advanced than others, but I think we're right there. We're already using some solutions. There's so much data in our industry. we know exactly what it costs to ship a container from A to B because we have done it right a week ago, a month ago. So we can use that data just by a fingertip, and we are able to quote a lot faster to our clients. If they have a quote request, we are able to do this, in an hour rather than a day or two. So speed to market is definitely something that we are utilizing with AI, and otherwise cybersecurity that keeps us up at night. All industries, but when you have 160 offices and in 60 countries, you need to make sure we don't have any vulnerability anywhere. We have an office in Rwanda or we are in Colombia, right? And making sure the entire globe is secure and we're not vulnerable in that sense. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm honored you've taken time to talk to us today. And because I'm sure as people are listening, like, how did Lain get him to sit down for even a few minutes? Because whether it's cybersecurity or fuel or a global situation or a specific country, and when you make a commitment to your customer, I know your team, I've met many of them, like you said, they don't punch out at 5 o'clock because who knows what time 5 o'clock is. It's depending on what time zone you're in, and getting something there when you've signed the commitment that you're going to get it there. But at the same time, how do you win, workplace awards? What makes it a great place to work? Why do you think that, because I believe that was an employee rated survey that led you to that award. What do you think they love about working at Fracht?
USA Today runs this every year, and again, we won it for 3 years in a row. As you said, it's based on employee feedback. I think we came up with core values about 5-6 years ago, and we took our sweet time to come up with those. The word is RIPPLE. It's respect, integrity, positivity, passion, leadership, and empathy. And, you can have them on the wall, but at the end of the day, you got to lead by those core values every day. And that was a significant change for us. And the employees realized that we mean it, and that we lead by those. And that starts with the owner. When we announced the core values, he was actually in Houston with an employee event. We invite all our employees every 18 months or so, for a fun weekend. And he was there to present the first word. It was respect. And I had the last one, empathy. So we have a lot of empathy at Fracht in the group. Everywhere around the world, not just in North America, but I think the employees realize that, and they just believe in us. And if they make a mistake, there's another chance. It's hard to find good talent everywhere, I would say, but I think we are very fortunate. We have a good reputation, and our Inter Miami partnership. Maybe we can get into that in a minute, but the brand awareness exploded with partnering with this huge club, Lionel Messi, and all of a sudden people knew who Fracht were. And I underestimated at the beginning the employee effect on that. They really felt like, wow, this is a cool company to work for. And we invited a lot of employees to games, and we give out jerseys. Actually, our owner bought a jersey for every employee around the world. And believe it or not, the biggest challenge was to ship it to each country. Even though we are a shipping company, it was quite entertaining, because every country has different tax laws, etc., and so on. But I think those are the little things that are different about us than others out there.
Yeah, well, I know, the connection to soccer. I know you're an avid soccer player. I believe I was gifted one of those jerseys. I know I'm in possession of one, so I was very thankful. Of course, Messi is just one of the greats. And like you've said, if you're not a soccer fan out there and you're listening, check him out, because you'll see the Fracht logo on the side. And it's such a global sport phenom. And of course, he represents excellence. You represent that same kind of excellence. And so you're a soccer fan. Let me ask you this, what is, who is a mentor, and, what did they mean to you? What did they teach you? And do you think helped craft your leadership to get Fracht where it is right now?
I'm smiling because I just emailed my mentor about 30 minutes ago. I'm going home to Europe, and I have a meeting with my former boss, And his former boss was actually my first mentor. I was in my early 20s, and this man, his name is Sandro Leperi, he had so much positive energy. He was running around in the office and just always smiling and positive and, very intelligent man, spoke 6 languages, but he didn't micromanage. He was always he empowered the people. And I was able at a young age to just watch this man and how he led. And it was a global, Alstom Power was the name of the company back then. And they were sold to GE in the meantime. But this was a global business, and they had projects all over the world, and you're dealing with different cultures, etc. And he was definitely one of my main role models over the years. And yeah, again, I just emailed him 20 minutes ago if he wants to join me for this particular meeting. He's in his 70s now, but
Nice.
I still like to have him around. Yeah.
Wow. What would you say? Well, I appreciate that, he just had that positive attitude. Even in the midst of it, sounds like he was running a business that was very logistically challenging. And you mentioned how many different offices are around the world for Fracht. I think there's about 350 employees in the US, or is that all of North America? And then a couple thousand globally, correct?
Yeah, we have 350 in North America, and then about over 2,000 globally. But that's growing. We just bought a company in England. We are starting this joint venture in Central America. We just registered an office in Costa Rica. We have about 5-6 employees there now, but this will grow to about 50, hopefully by the end of this year, early next year. And the way we have grown at Fracht is very organic. Yes, acquisitions, but usually we bought companies that were our agents. For example, in Chile, we bought a company about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We used to work with them because we didn't have our own office, so you deal with an agent. This company didn't have a succession plan in place. They reach out to us, and you're basically buying somebody that you have known for 10, 15, 20 years, and they just become part of the family. And that's when I started 25 years ago. We had 44 offices, and now we have 160. So most of that growth came through acquisitions, buying our agents and partners.
Yeah, I love that you said part of the family, and that's not, a lot of companies are able to use that as a metaphor, even if they're owned by, venture capital, or maybe it's publicly traded and they've got the board and all of that. You're family owned. So maybe you can glean on what are some of the differences that you've experienced or things you appreciate about the fact that it's family owned. Yeah.
A lot comes to mind. I think we are very fortunate. We are the second generation now. Rudi Reisdorf Jr. took over from his father about 20 years ago. They founded the company 70 years ago. Last year was our anniversary. And, the way he leads it, he believes in the local hero and empowers the local hero to do the right thing. And, they entrusted me 8 years ago together with a team to lead the US. And, the profits that we are generating, we are allowed to reinvest into our region. That allows us to buy assets, that allows us to, expand the network, as we are doing now in Central America. So he's really not taking any of the money out. He says, hey, let's keep the money and keep growing, and really having that trust, from the owner is exceptional. His daughter is now in the business, so the third generation is around, and she is already our ambassador of marketing, and she has done a great job. We already did a rebrand late last year, but she's working on our Africa desk in Belgium, and Africa is a massive market for us. We have 28 offices in Africa. We're one of the largest freight forwarders in that region, and for the owner's daughter to go into that region and specialize goes to show that we believe in Africa and that we continue to invest into that market. And I hope eventually she will come to the US. So that's the plan. And she's a very bright young lady, and the owner has no intentions whatsoever to sell the company. So there's a lot of positives. The only negative is I would say that our owner is also full of empathy, right? And sometimes when you have certain country managers that are not delivering the results, there's a little too much empathy for my taste. He knows this, right? Where you have a CEO that reports to a board, and to shareholders, then you cannot really tolerate
Right.
performing, office, and that's something we are getting better at as a group, because I think when you're delivering results and others are not, it's hard to really stand in front of your team and say, hey, why we do not have accountability in our other areas, and that's one issue that I see that we are again working on. But other than that, I've been very fortunate to work for him. I worked for a big company, Alstom Power, right here and there. You employee number 60,418, and you have a meeting, and then you have a great idea in a meeting, and nothing happens with that idea. I've been there, and then I got frustrated. I kept asking, "Hey, what happened with I didn't have a chance to ask my boss, and so on." And then here, all a company, you have an opportunity, you have an idea, and then you go, right? And you have that flexibility. And we bought rail cars in the U.S. 12 years ago. An employee of ours came, said, "Hey, Reiner, I believe we need to buy heavy-duty rail cars." And I had no idea about rail at that point and didn't really see it. And a year later, we had an opportunity for a client, and all of a sudden, we realized there's a shortage of these heavy-duty rail cars. And it took one phone call to the owner back then and say, "Hey, Rudy, we need 2 rail cars, $3 million." And then we pitched the idea to him and what we want to do with it. And the only thing he said at the end, "Send me the banking information and I'll wire the money tomorrow." This was before we made our profits in the US. So, and there's not many companies that react this quickly on an opportunity. And then what we could do with that is go to the client and say, "Hey, customer, we have a solution." And we knew nobody else had that solution because nobody else was going to buy those rail cars, not that quickly. So it gives us a lot of advantages in the marketplace to have that kind of setup.
Part of obviously being a leader is to see around the corner and not just react to what everybody else sees. And it sounds like, you're known as quite an innovator in logistics and seeing opportunities before other people see opportunities. And that's a lot of how Fracht has done so well. And of course, under your leadership throughout North America. And you mentioned earlier about reinvesting. And I know you've been a big proponent of not just reinvesting into the business, but making sure that, we're looking at how can we give back beyond just the work you do. I believe it's Fracht Forward is your focus on service and community service. I think you just got back from a Smiles program, Operation Smile, I think. So, maybe share with the audience not just how, yes, we're getting business done, obviously global, big business, important things, handling, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of freight around the world, but then pausing and spending time, I think, with your family to, give back to the world. So what's that like, and how do you keep that Fracht Forward going?
So let me go back 50 years, right, to the founder of the company. He used to organize games for UNICEF, soccer games. So we love soccer, right? We established that already. And Mr. Weisthoff Sr., he brought the best players from around the world to Basel, Switzerland. And the best European players played against the best players from South America. And the money that was generated through that game went to UNICEF in Africa. So this is really where it already started a long, long time ago. And yes, I believe 5-6 years ago, we founded Fracht Forward in the US. But we always have given to certain charities, and Operation Smile is one of them. We used to receive invites from a vendor to golf tournaments. There was a boxing event in Los Angeles years ago, and I kind of fell in love with that charity. And and now my wife and I, we have been on a couple of missions there, and we are supporting them as privately. But our company Fracht, this Fracht Forward board, what we do is we have 6 individuals from the different regions, from LA, Boston, other offices, and they bring ideas of local charities to us. So we just don't want to support one charity. We like to spread the wealth a little bit and help those in need, and also give our employees in these other regions the opportunity to say, "Hey, I was able to make a difference, even though the Boston office is small, but the company listens to us, and they're also giving to a charity that is in their area." So again, we have about 12 different charities that we support year in, year out, and It's very different for what we do, but Operation Smile is definitely a big one for us. But many other things, we have a dialogue with UNICEF. There are some opportunities that I can't share yet, but eventually this year we will be able to. But it's in our nature again. It starts with ownership, and what I like the most is that we're not just signing checks. It's about giving the employees the time to do something with their own hands, to be there for children, etc. And we do a lot of things, Habitat for Humanity. We go out and build a house, and each employee is allowed to take 2 volunteer days a year. And there's a lot of them, they take advantage of that and go out there and do some good out there.
Yeah, well, of course, we built skateboards with you before. We did our bike program. We did our prosthetic hand build with you, and you made a very sizable donation to the foundation directly to help us get those hands out around the world. We still got to have a side meeting about how you can help us get those hands to the 100 countries that we're distributing the hands in. But I know we've talked a little about logistics and how that works. We don't fill canisters or containers, but we're doing our best to try to change the world. What would you say with not just the service, but then the values that Fracht has adopted and brings to life, and then your style of leadership? What do you hope that if I was a new employee at Fracht, what do you hope all of that communicates to me?
Honesty, transparency, I think goes a long way. We hire new employees on a weekly basis. That's how fast we have grown in the last, I would say, 2 years. And there was a senior level manager that joined us in New York. And 6 months into it, we had a meeting with him, and he said, "Reiner, thank you. Everything is as advertised. When you interview a person, you're transparent with that employee from the beginning and say, hey, look, not everything is perfect here. We have our issues, but we're counting on you to help us." And you share that with them up front, and then they realize, hey, this is exactly what they told me it's going to be like. And I think they're going to go to their old network and say, hey, if you look for a new place, Fracht would be a great home for you. I think we have a referral program, and the amount of referrals that we are getting internally is awesome. So, but again, you got to be honest, and the expectations are they aligned, right? And on both sides. And again, the core values come into that. So, and I have a slogan that I use: hire slowly, fire quickly. If we realize somebody doesn't fit our culture, then, they can be good at their job, but long term, it's not going to be a fit, and then we rather end it quickly. So that's it's not always pretty, but at the end of the day, we want to protect that culture. And I believe the people that have been there realize how serious and important that is to us.
Yeah, well, I've seen that firsthand, and I know we're scheduled to see you again coming up for the 50th anniversary of and we're going to have our meeting. And you told me a story at that one, and I can't give any details away to anybody who might see this is going to be there, but I know we were talking about possibly including Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and you told me a story. Can you tell a version? I can't remember it, but I don't think it's a very long story, but why is Big Brothers, Big Sisters personal to you?
Well, when I came to the US 24 years ago, almost, my English was terrible at that time, and also didn't have a whole lot of money, so I was sitting at home and I watched a lot of Seinfeld, and I love Seinfeld. And there was one of the episodes where George Costanza is becoming a big brother, and I felt like this is actually pretty cool, right? And then I looked into it, and couple miles from my house was a Big Brother office, and I went in there and signed up, and they did the background check, and they matched me with a young kid. Connor is his name, and I've done that for about 9 years. So he's over 20 now, but funny enough is when we had the match party, I found out his birthday is the same day as my oldest brother's birthday. So, and it's kind of like amazing how this all, came together, and I enjoyed it. You're trying to make a difference in someone's life. And I think there again, you need to spend time with people and not just write a check. And and because of that, we would love to bring the Big Brother organization into the fold and help them a little bit moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to make lots of great things happen together, of course, in our meetings. And I know you do such a great job with the organization. It's fun to see it growing so much. So your leadership for the organization and for everyone that I've interacted with is just top shelf. How do you ground yourself? Like, I know you're married. I can't recall like what's going on at home, or what is it that really grounds you, and where do you rejuvenate yourself for the pressures of the job that you fill?
Yeah, so I'm married. We have a dog. He's amazing. He's always running after me. He's sitting next to me, watching me. But family and friends are very important to me. We spend a lot of time with my parents, even though they're in Germany. We spend a lot of time with the family for my wife, and that's important. But the volunteering that we did this last week in Guatemala for Operation Smile, and we were 6 days in Antigua, a beautiful place, but we were very safe. But we were surrounded by these children, and that really is a humbling experience when you see people just smiling at you if you give them an ice cream, and it's just a beautiful feeling that we were able to make a difference. And my wife is so heavily involved. She calls 2 mothers, every day now to see how the surgery went and if they're okay. So we FaceTime the boys, and I picked up a soccer ball at the store, and then I played soccer with these kids. They have to wait sometimes 3 to 4 days until they can go into surgery, and then they're sitting in a shelter. And I think that's where we found our calling, that we go to the shelter and we spend so much time with them that they actually look forward to the next day, but knowing that somebody's going to show up to bring them food and stuff, and we'll spend some time with them. I think I played 4 hours of football this week, and I haven't in a minute. So I was sore a little bit, but it was well fit, and so a bit slower than I used to be, but it is still fun.
Well, and those are primarily cleft palate surgeries, correct, or other dental? Yeah.
Yeah, the dental work, yeah. And when you see these doctors, there's a lady, she flew in from South Africa for this mission. And, she's a surgeon over there. And I mean, they're traveling halfway around the world, and, coach, they're not getting paid for business class. They have to share rooms, and it's a simple hotel, nothing fancy. And then I asked a doctor actually from Miami, he's one of the main surgeons at the children's hospital here. And I said, how often are you going on missions? He says, 3 times a year. And your family, right? Yeah, I do. And I said, how often do you go on vacation? Once, right? So, and then you're just amazed by these people, inspired, I would say, is the word that, what's really important in life. And I did work every day last week, but, just an hour in here cleaning up my inbox. But everybody on the team knew that we were on this mission, and didn't get any heavy stuff delivered. Thankfully, there's not a whole lot anyway these days. But that was a very great experience. Again, we did it for the second time, and we hopefully can do it again soon. But that's what brings me down. And then again, spending time with family, friends. We like to travel, and so.
Yeah.
But, it's important to spend quality time with quality people.
Well said. Well said.
And positive people. I used to hang out with more friends, and over time, especially at work, going through change management. And one of the challenges at Fracht was with the growth. We had a lot of employees there that were nice, they did a decent job, but they couldn't keep up with the growth. And then and they give you loyalty. They were there for 10 years. And then after 10 years, you're realizing they hit the ceiling. And then you have to have some difficult conversations. Hey, is it okay for you to, take a lesser role? And then usually it doesn't work out. But, so there were some challenging moments, negative moments, and really changed me a little bit to say, what, I got to spend time with people that have a positive mindset. And that's very important. And so there's a few of my old friends that I really don't send a Christmas card to him.
Well, if they're watching, it's not too late. You can adopt some of what you heard just now. I mean, because like you said, quality time with quality people and that mindset to know that, and if you're trying to do something world class at a high level that has its own inherent high stress stuff, you have to have an appetite for personal reflection, for putting those values into action when reflexively you might not want to, because we're all human and it can be difficult. But like you said, when you ground yourself in family and in values and purpose and feeling like you're making a difference, you can overcome those things. I appreciate, like you said, the quality time with quality people. You've given us a good chunk of your time right now, and we're thankful for it. You've trusted us with your teams for a number of years now. And it's awesome. It's no surprise you're growing, because I experience you as somebody that really models everything you just talked about in the way that you lead and the values and all of that. So congratulations to you on the growth of the business in challenging times. I know there's opportunity in those challenges for you and for the whole organization. As when people look around and know who to trust, they're thinking, you know what, let's go with Fracht, because they've been around and they got plan A, B, C, all the way to Z to get us there. In the last second I have with you here, what would be a message for you to somebody out there getting their MBA who's dreaming about being a CEO someday? What do you think is the most important quality or characteristic that they develop in themselves?
I value transparency a lot. I think I've not always gotten that from my previous bosses, and I always figured, why not? Why not sharing with others? I think it's so important that people understand what is the goal, where are we going, and again, what's also important is putting the time in. I think it's this is the younger generation. We have a lot of great young employees at Fracht, and they know they have to put in the effort, and it takes time to get that promotion. Patience is required. But when I look at some of the youngsters at Fracht, man, they know how to work, right? And I do not always agree with people saying, the Gen Z generation is lazy and whatnot. Yeah, they work differently, and working from home is obviously something that has changed the world a little bit, but still you got to put in the effort and be patient. And, I always said, when people ask me, what do I have to do to move up? And I said, do your job as good as you can and ask for side projects, okay? And somebody will give you something. And if you do well with those, the next opportunity will be even bigger. And before you know it, and that's how I have grown. I was always quick getting my job done. And then I asked, what else can I do for you, And just don't sit there and wait for things to be handed to you. I think just work ethic is still very, very important. And again, all the other core values that I mentioned earlier, say same thing. And don't be afraid to hire people that are smarter than you. I think we have folks at Fracht that are just like off the charts intelligent, and sometimes I'm sitting there and I said, I'm sorry, but I don't understand what you're talking about, which is fine. I don't have to be the smartest in the room. They help me bring the company forward, and having subject matter experts in all the different areas, IT, finance, you name it. You can't know it all, right? And that's what I was able to do, I believe, is build a team and getting out of their way. That's a bit of a phrase, but it's true, empower them, but monitor, especially at the beginning. And when you have that trust level, let them do their thing.
Yeah. Well, I heard a couple things in there. I love it. One of those was, go ahead and go and ask, which is part of you go first. Like, don't just sit back and wait for somebody. You go first. And the other thing I heard you say there that reminded me of a quote someone told me, which was, hard work doesn't guarantee success, but the lack of it will guarantee failure. And, you got to be willing to grind it out and put in those things and put in the hard work. So thank you again. With that, we're going to close up the episode, but I hope, if something else crazy happens in the world, you want to share with us, come back to the You Go First community and share with us what it takes to keep going first in a challenging landscape out there. So with that, thank you very much, Reiner, for the time with us, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Lain. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. All right. Make it a great day, everyone. That wraps up the episode, and we're so thankful. Woohoo! There you go. All right.
Thanks for listening to another episode of You Go First. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to listen to another episode, you can find us at yougofirst.live, or you can see more about our host, Lain Hensley, on his Instagram at OneDreamChaser. To learn more about his company, Odyssey Teams Inc., go to odysseyteams.com or follow all their social media channels at Odyssey Teams. Thanks again, and we hope that you will go first to share our podcast with a friend or colleague. Now, you go first.